Is she there for like vacation or for like living?
Oh, no, for life. Thing. Oh, I thought I was going to get to use the gavel. I keep waiting. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Highland Park's meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for June 19th, 2025. Patrick, would you please call the roll?
Yeah. Member Weisberg?
Here.
Member Chase?
Here.
Member Trushansky?
Here.
Member Zaransky?
Here.
Vice Chair Yablon?
Here.
And Chair Bay, absent. We have a quorum.
Wonderful, thank you. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes for the June 5th, 2025 meeting. Has everyone had the opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
Yes. Excellent. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Excellent. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Fantastic. All those in favor of approving the minutes of June 5th, 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm going to abstain. I wasn't here. One abstention.
Okay, excellent. Do we have any business from the public tonight? I do not believe so. And we have no old business, so that brings us to new business. So we'll start with VAR 2025-00048 for the property located at 22 Lakeview Terrace. The appellant, Matthew Conti, is requesting variations from provisions section 150.1903A, 150.1906F, 150.707B1, and 150.703 to encroach into the steep slope zone with a proposed patio and balcony, as well as a garage addition. Patrick, do you have a presentation?
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay. So, 22 Lakeview Terrace. Applicant Matthew Kerouac on behalf of Matthew Conti. Proposal is to encroach into the steep slope zone, side yard setback, and the subdivision building line. The property is located in the R4 zoning district, lakefront overlay zone. The existing home was built in 1949, according to the Lake County Assessor's Office, and the request is to encroach into the steep slope zone for a proposed patio and balcony measuring 5.41 feet by 10.5 feet for a total encroachment area of 62 square feet. Additionally, to encroach into the subdivision setback line and required side yard setback of 15 feet for a garage addition measured 14.58 feet by 2 feet. Here is the property, is located along the lake and has a lake bluff setback for the steep slope zone area, which is a 40-foot setback from top of bluff. It's at the end of the block as well. Here is an aerial of the property. I'll have you notice here there is a red dotted line of 15 feet from the northern property line. This is the subdivision building line that was set by the plat of subdivision. It was set because there is an ingress-egress easement for the subdivision to go down to the lake. So that area is meant for the members of Lakeview Terrace to be able to access the lakefront. The existing home is also already encroaching slightly into that setback as well. So here are some property photos. On the right here, this is the kind of entrance to the lakefront entrance, which is located here. The addition will be located on this portion of the garage. And the back portion is where the patio and deck area or balcony area will be on this portion of the house. So in blue is the existing home and approved work. The red lines are the setback requirements, and the yellow, which is a little hard to see, there are smaller areas, are the areas that are requested for encroachment. Here it's 2 feet projecting out from the existing garage, and this is a patio and second floor balcony that will be encroaching for 62 square feet. They already have a approved building permit that has kind of a triangle shape that is conforming with code for the balcony and patio area. There is an existing stone patio area here, which is why they can't add any more patio area in the steep slope zone. You're allowed up to 300 square feet, and because of this existing feature, they can't add any more patio because of it. So they need a variation for that request and for also adding the second-story balcony. We didn't receive any comments from the public, and the only comments from city divisions were from the engineering division, which the applicant is working towards and completing. So, in review, the requested relief is to encroach into the steep slope zone for the proposed patio and balcony, as well as to encroach into the subdivision setback line and side yard setback of 15 feet for that garage addition. The board should be using Chapter 150 standards of approval, and let me know if you have any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Patrick?
Yeah, you said there's a path to the beach where the garage is going to be. I mean, where the addition would be.
So it's going to be the pathway here. So it's along the property line. If I could. Yeah, it's like just off the property. It's just right where the property line is.
Okay, but this wouldn't be affecting that path in any way.
I mean, it's projecting into that area a little bit, but it's not damaging the pathway, no.
Any other questions?
Just to clarify, two quick things. So the building permit was approved, correct?
Correct.
And so has it been modified, or what's the?
So the building permit is approved not for the garage addition, and so it's not approved for these two yellow areas. They are approved for, here I'll go to, so this is what the house was before. They added additions in this area, as well as the patio and balcony area off the back, which you can now kind of see here. So they filled in this area, and then this is the patio balcony area. And they are approved. They have a triangle formation here that is staying outside of that steep slope zone area, but the applicant would like to square that off with the house, and they need a variation to do that.
And the garage, what was the purpose of that? Do we know?
Just an additional request.
Okay.
Anyone else for Patrick? Okay, well, with that in mind, is there someone here to speak on this? Thank you. If you wouldn't mind coming to the podium. Hi, do you affirm that the testimony that you intend to provide this evening is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Thank you. And usually we'd ask for you to state your name and address, but we're not going to do that so people don't break into your home or office.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So if you'd like to write your name down
Okay, great.
and your information, that would be fantastic. And if you could give your name as well.
Okay. My name is Matthew Kerouac. I'm the architect
Thank you.
for the project. Sure. Matthew, then Kerouac. Okay. If it pleases the board, first I want to thank Mr. Hoffman for all of his assistance in our preparing for this application. Our variations are, as you see, after construction has started on the project. As we got into the project, we were looking initially at going for a balcony that kind of stopped short of the 40-foot setback line and wanting to square it off. And we decided that, let's continue that across. Do you have the floor plans on the architectural?
No, I don't have we usually don't add the floor plans just because we don't want to post people's floor plans online.
Oh, okay. So this is a little, I'm sorry, so we have on the second floor, we have a new primary suite, bedroom, of course, and primary bedroom, looking over the amazing view of Lake Michigan. And the balcony kind of travels across that. And what we wanted to do is honor the steep slope zone, with the permit, and then come in subsequently to try to get a variance. If not, the project goes through as is. We feel that the variation for the balcony and terrace is a minor ask. We already, there's so much construction within the steep slope zone where there's about, almost 800, 900 square feet of patio. What we're asking for is it starts at 0 feet, goes to 5.9 feet at a length of 10, so we're about 30 square feet per floor. So a total of 60 square feet total within the zone, but only 30 feet of the footprint is on the first floor. What we're trying to do is maintain the integrity of the neighborhood, the property. If someone comes and looks at this project when it's completed with that angled balcony without any kind of noticeable barrier for why that's happening, we feel that it's lessening the value of the neighborhood. It's not maintaining what the area requires for the, a finished product. The garage addition is 2 feet because it's marketed as a 2-car garage. The width inside the garage is about 16 feet, so it's not a true 2-car. What we're hoping to do is with this 2-foot bump out, and we try to minimize its extension into the setback and also its length, simply to allow for a driver's car door to open enough to get 2 cars in there. It'd still be very tight, but it would be a true 2-car garage within the structure. The addition would not encroach at all into the pathway. The pathway is right along the lot line, and it's about 3 foot wide. So this 2-foot addition would not encroach at all, nor impede any of the walkway into the public access to the beach. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
I do, and then what? Should we walk through the standards? Because that's how we have to make our decision.
Of course. Yeah, that's fine. So should I read each standard? How would you like me to proceed with the standards?
Your choice.
Okay, standard 1, which is the request for a variance is not based on the homeowner's need to make money from the improvement. What we're trying to do is just bring the integrity of the project up. There's no value added to scoring off the balcony besides just a visual impact to the property. And the garage addition is simply to allow that garage to become somewhat of a true 2-car garage. Right? There's value added in terms of the use of the property, but it's not going to increase and will not, be beneficial to the value of the house more than what a standard 2-car garage and balcony would provide. And then based on the established building setback and location of the steep slope zone, on this specific lot, the buildable area is small and more restrictive in the north-south dimension than the majority of lots on the block. Sorry, I'm trying to get to. Just for number 2, I'm sorry, the garage variation in terms of the plighted petitioner is due to unique circumstance. The garage variation is necessary due to the original design of the 1942 residence, which has an interior garage width of 16 foot 8 inches. So we inherited this. We're just trying to make it a more usable space for the petitioner. And the rear patio and deck variance adds only 62 square feet. And the footprint of the patio would be minimal impact on the steep slope zone. It's at the furthest edge of the steep slope zone, adjacent to the property of the house. We're trying to minimize its encroachment. Number 3, in terms of denial of the garage variation would force the homeowners to park only 1 car in the garage, and then force the other cars to be parked in the circular driveway. And then denial of the patio deck variation would negatively impact the appearance of the final residence design and damage any kind of potential resale. Just, it would be it'd be hard to market that as a true design that has some thoughtfulness to it. Number 4, the alleged hardship has not been created by any person presently having a proprietary interest in the subject property. Yes, this was not created by anybody that has interest in the property. Number 5, the proposed variation will not materially be detrimental to the public welfare or interest to other properties or improvements in the neighborhood. The requested garage variation maintains the minimal side yard setback of 12 feet and was designed to have a limited footprint in height. It's only a one-story that we create. You can't see here, but it's a small shed roof that kind of just forms back into the existing garage. And the requested patio deck variation would not impact the public welfare and would maintain the level of integrity of the neighborhood. The proposed variation will not impair, this is number 6, an inadequate supply of light and air to adjacent properties, essentially increase congestion in the public streets, increase the danger of fire or endanger the public safety, or essentially diminish or impair property values in the neighborhood. We believe that the requested garage variation has minimal footprint and elevation and will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to the properties, and that the requested patio deck variation would enhance the aesthetic appeal of the residence property and would not be visible from the street or neighborhood. It would only be visible from the lake and anybody walking down to the public beach. Number 7, the proposed variation will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. The requested garage variation has minimal footprint and elevation and will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood, and the requested patio deck variation will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. Again, it's behind the residence. No one will sense if that patio has that extension. And the proposed variation is in harmony with the spirit and intent of the zoning code. We believe that the minimal footprint and elevations of the garage addition and the location of the rear patio and its minimal footprint on the steep slope zone would maintain the harmony and spirit of the zoning variation request.
Thank you. I do have a question to begin with, and that is, what is the final measurement of the width of the garage once you add the 2 feet?
The interior would be 18 foot 6, or 18 foot 8 interior.
Okay.
Is it big enough?
Well, it's, typically if I'm designing a new garage these days, it's at least 22 feet, but we wanted to do the minimal to not come here and ask for this huge addition, but enough that we felt that we could get that concept to work for us.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have questions for the gentleman?
I have a question. So the request for the variation of the steep slope zone, it sounds like is it mostly for aesthetics, how the finished product is going to look?
It is. Right now, the way it's designed, we have a 2-story structure that we're adding onto the back of the house that houses the kitchen, the dining and great room on the first floor, and then a primary bedroom suite across the back on the second floor. The first level raised terrace travels all the way across and connects to a screened-in porch to the south, and then the balcony travels from the primary bedroom all the way across to the primary bathroom. So we would still have that going all the way across, but that last 10 feet would be angled back to the house. So we feel that it is truly an aesthetic kind of reason to do this. A little bit functional. I mean, you get to a point where it just looks silly to do, to have that tight, but we didn't want to stop short from what the value of that property is to take advantage of that if we could.
Thanks. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Of course, and is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this? No? Okay. So I'm going to ask my fellow board members what they're thinking. I will start with Member Trushansky.
I think all the standards haven't met. I think these are pretty small asks. And I appreciate, especially with the garage, how you came here and asked for really the minimum amount that it would take for this to work for you. So I think I would be in favor.
Okay. Member Zorinsky.
I agree. I don't have much to add. I think it's a good plan, makes a whole lot of sense, and I believe the standards are met, and I'm in support of it.
Okay. Member Chase.
I think the standards have been met for the garage. The garage variance, it doesn't sound like the garage will work without it. And I agree, it's modest. If I remember what Patrick said, that the reason for the variance for the on the steep slope is because they've reached their maximum for encroaching into the steep slope. Correct, because of the patio.
Yes, because of the structure here, they can't add any more pavement on grade. So that's one reason. And the balcony is just a bulk encroachment into the area.
I'm not as sure about the encroachment into the steep slope. I'm curious to hear everybody else or whoever's left.
Okay. Member Weisberg.
I think the standards have been met for both variations. Regarding the patio, I kind of agree with the fact that if you cut it off before the end or you tried to kind of angle it like a sliver, it almost could harm the value of putting up that patio to begin with. So I would be for approving.
Okay. I too am in favor and also agree with my fellow board members who were very appreciative about the de minimis ask, that it wasn't grotesque in any way. Member Chase, do you have more questions? Do you want to hear more about the steep slope zone issue?
No, I think it is minimal, and I do agree looking at it that it would look like you forgot to do something with the variance. The house would look odd, and I don't really see how, since where the existing structure is, I don't know how else to do it.
Okay, so with that in mind, Patrick, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Motion.
Oh, God. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the order as drafted?
Sure. I will make a motion to approve the order as drafted.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second.
Excellent. Patrick, could we have a roll call vote?
Yes. Member Weisberg?
Aye.
Member Chase?
Aye.
Member Trushansky?
Aye.
Member Zaransky?
Yes.
Vice Chair Yablon?
Aye.
Great.
Congratulations. And thank you. And, okay. And so for the next order of new business, we have VAR 2025-00049 for the property located at 1696 First Street in Highland Park. The appellants are Ann and John Satter, if I have that right. They're requesting variations from provision section 150.704A and section 150.851A to allow 2 dwelling units on an undersized lot and parking relief for 2 parking spaces from the required 4 parking spaces. Patrick, do you have a presentation for us?
Yeah. So 1696 First Street, applicant Ann and John Satter, proposal additional dwelling unit and parking relief on the property. This property is located in the RO zoning district, the high density residential / office. It's a bit of a new one for you. We don't get to work in this area that often. The existing home, the Lake County did not have information on this. I couldn't find it in our records either. So I know it's been around for a long time based off of aerial photography, but I don't have an exact date for you. So the requested relief is to allow one additional dwelling unit on an undersized lot for a total of 2, and to provide parking relief for 2 parking spaces from the required 4. Here is the property. It is across the street from the metro station and located in and around these condo units. And here's an aerial of the property as well. So the existing property is 2 structures. Currently it is being used as a single-family home for just 1 dwelling unit. However, there are 2 structures on the existing property currently. Here is a photo of that front structure, and here's a photo of the second structure in the back. The applicants did add in this garage space to add 2 garage spaces to this property. Previously, they just used to park here along the alleyway. However, the distance is quite short, so it's required for them to ask for parking relief because it doesn't meet the parking space standards. But that is how the property has been being used for decades at this point. So I'll talk first on the dwelling unit. This is information that the applicant provided, just kind of detailing, and it's also in the packet, the amount of smaller units that are in the neighborhood. So in this neighborhood, in order to utilize multifamily, you have to hit a land area of 21,780 square feet. For single family use, 7,000 square feet. This property is currently only 4,900 square feet, so it is non-conforming even for the single family, but they're not removing any of the structures. They're not adding any structures to this project. They're just wanting to use the structures as is and just want to allow an additional dwelling unit to live in one and rent out the other. Yeah. And then so for the parking, I highlighted this already. They added 2 garage spaces. However, they need 4 garage spaces for 2 dwelling units on this property. This space here is only 7.76, and you need 8.5 feet in width for the zoning requirement for parking. So it is substandard, and that is why they are seeking relief for these 2 parking spaces. In the draft approval order, there is one condition that is being proposed. You can either approve it as drafted, or we can strike it as well. But a lot of this project hinges on just using the existing structures as is. So there's a condition staff is putting in there, or at least proposing, that the proposed relief only applies to the existing structures as depicted in the attached survey. Typically, these approval orders run with the land, so if they were both demolished, technically they would be allowed 2 units in perpetuity. With this, it would just be they're allowed to use it when they have these structures, and then otherwise it would have to conform with all zoning codes after these structures are demolished. So again, yes, you can either adopt this. It is already in the draft approval order, or you can choose to not use that condition and we can strike it. Also, I added for a total of 2 in the first one, just to add a little bit of clarity. That was not in the draft. I didn't have what the total dwelling units they wanted, so that was just an additional note. Didn't receive any comments from city divisions or from the public. And again, it is to request 1 additional dwelling unit for an undersized lot for a total of 2. And to provide parking relief for 2 parking spaces from the required 4. The board should be using Chapter 150, Standards of Approval. Let me know if you have any questions.
You didn't get anything from members of the public about this?
No, and they did have to mail a considerable amount of people, because how the public notice works is that you mail all abutters. They live next to a bunch of condo buildings that have 50 people in them, so they did mail quite a substantial amount of people.
Okay.
I got a few phone calls, but no one was here or provided.
What's the purpose of the variation? Aren't they just operating like legal non-conforming anyway? What?
So they currently are only allowed 1 dwelling unit. They can't rent out the other additional space. They are undersized, and in order to rent out that space, they need to be allowed 2 dwelling units.
Gotcha. Understood.
And I had a question regarding the parking spots. Are they right in front of the garage? Like,
Yes.
So it blocks the garage?
So I'll have the applicant speak on this a little bit more, but my understanding is that, so they added this garage in themselves. It used to just be a brick wall, and then they used to park here. Those parking spaces are substandard, so that's why we're asking for relief from those 2 parking spaces, because there will be 2 parking spaces in the garage now that they've created them.
Okay, but it's the,
They were being used previously. They didn't conform with the design standards of the parking spaces, but that's how they've been parking. No one had issues with it. But.
So they technically have 4 now, but 2 are substandard.
Correct.
and,
But they would be parking in front of the garage, yes.
okay, that was it. So
Yeah.
if you had 2 cars in the garage and the garage was closed, and then you'd have 2 more cars blocking the garage then.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, just wanted to be on the same page.
I have a question. So, right now, it's being used as single family. But I'm going to assume that in the past, it was rental property?
Yeah, I mean,
But we're not-
presumably, but if you're not using the if it's non-conforming and you can't have a record of showing that that's how you have been using it, you lose those non-conforming rights to it. So if the property had been used as 2 dwelling units previously, they purchased the property and that's how it was being used, and they continued using it, so it could be continued that way. And that's kind of how they were trying to
Because the
highlight.
use was stopped.
The use was stopped, only used as single family now, so they lose those non-conforming rights because it doesn't conform with the zoning code. But they're allowed to continue with the single family because that's how it's been used.
Got it.
So it was used as a rental before and then it stopped?
It could have been in the past, I do not know.
Okay.
Any other questions for Patrick? No?
I
Okay.
think I may need to clarify. I hate to sound dense. So essentially, the parking is not, they're not asking for change. They're asking for allowance to continue.
So technically, they're not allowed to park in that space because they would be parking in the public alley slightly where their property lines are. It's
But
a
this-
little messy, but it's how it's been used previously for a long time. But that is technically they're parking in the public alley, and
So
it would be a
shouldn't this
blockage.
license request then? I mean, if they're using public space?
Well, they're not requesting to use the space. That's why they're requesting a relief from 2 parking spaces because they have 2 within the garage space. So technically, no one should be parking here because it could be, say, the city is snow plowing for snow. It would be technically in the right of way a little bit and could be blocking a little bit, causing damage to the cars that park there. It is a fine point, but that's why we're asking for the 2 relief spaces to be conforming with code.
One more question. Was the garage permitted? The garage, did that have to have a permit to be constructed?
Yes, they didn't change the bulk of the structure at all. It was just cutting the hole and creating the garage. So yes, they did receive a permit a few months ago.
Sorry. So there's going to be 2 cars in the garage and then 2 cars blocking the garage? Or I'm missing that? Potentially.
Technically, no one can park there.
I'm saying if it was granted.
If it was granted, they wouldn't need
They wouldn't
park.
need that.
They wouldn't need to technically park. Like they would be conforming with the parking code because they would only need 2 spaces for
okay.
the 2 dwelling units.
The only real change is they can legally rent out the dwelling to somebody else.
Correct. Yeah, because there's no changes to the structures at all. It's staying as is.
We're not saying it's a parking spot. If they get ticketed, it's not on us. It's just,
No, you're not. You're not granting these as parking spaces. You're just granting relief.
Relief from the number of parking spaces required to have.
Correct.
I guess you could look at it as like it's not a nuisance that they have excess parking that they're not going to be blocking up the streets.
Right.
Well, it's ironic that the code requires 2 spots per dwelling when they don't require that, or they don't give you that for garages. There's nothing saying 2 spots on garage. That was an aside. Sorry, folks. Any other questions?
But wait, there are 2 garages?
No, I'm sorry. That is the single garage. And it has
That's the
2
single
spots.
garage, okay. Yes.
No, you're good.
Okay. Is there someone from the public here to speak? Please. Pardon me. Is there someone? Homeowners. That once, please.
But I'm not supposed to say my name?
You can say your name, but just not your address. I know. So.
Ann Saturn, my husband John.
Okay. If he's going to speak, he needs to be sworn in too. Are you speaking as well? Or just?
I got this one.
Perfect. Okay. In that case, do you affirm that the testimony that you intend to provide this evening is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Thank you to the zoning board and Patrick for your time and attention and your help in figuring this out, getting us here. We're not requesting any changes to the property. We bought the property in 2023. There were 2 outside parking spaces and 2 homes on this substandard size lot. And we would like to be able to rent that little front house. We think it's good for not only the homeowners, but for the city of Highland Park. An empty building is not good for a neighborhood. We know that. And having a small rental unit close to transportation and close to downtown is probably good for the city. Someone asked a question about reaching out to the neighborhood. There were 94 certified letters that we sent out. And we also spoke with the board members of the 1660 condo, which is directly to our north and probably most impacted by this request. They said there would be no problems. We asked the building management of 2 of the buildings to send a summary to the condo owners. They did send it to the board members. I assume it got relayed to the members. We have not received, we sent out a letter with our contact information. Nobody replied. I think what we're asking for is in character, well, it would be in the standards, but we can review those if there's any questions.
Does anyone have any questions currently, or would you like to hear the standards? If you could address the standards, please.
Okay, sure. And you have all received our summary narrative, right, about our request that was in the packet? I don't think that there's anything, well, we can ask questions later. Standard 1, the property in question cannot yield a reasonable return if permitted to be used only under the conditions allowed by the regulations of the zoning district in which it is located. Do I read the whole thing? The whole standard?
It's your choice how you'd like to approach it.
We're limited from fully utilizing this property. It's a substandard size lot. Many of them are in the neighborhood. 2 homes sit on this property, and 2 parking spaces, though substandard, existed when we bought them. Number 2, the plight of the petitioner is due to unique circumstances, and the proposed variation will not merely serve as a convenience to the petitioner, but will alleviate some demonstrable and unusual hardship, which is not generally applicable to other properties. 2 homes on the property. We are not allowed to rent one of them currently. The physical surroundings, shape, or topographical condition of the subject would result in a hardship upon the owner, as distinguished from a mere inconvenience. So we're trying to use an existing property for its best use, in character for the neighborhood, and for the best use of the owner and the city of Highland Park. All other lots in our neighborhood, except 1, are multifamily, condo, or small business. And the strict application of the zoning code, in our opinion, would have a discriminatory effect on our property. We own a property with 2 homes. Okay, you know that. Number 4, the alleged hardship has not been created by any person presently having interest in the property. We purchased the property as is in 2023. And then added those 2 garage spaces. The proposed variation will not impair adequate supply of light, air to adjacent properties, increase congestion. We're not asking for any physical changes to the property. So for number 6, it will not impair any of these conditions. Number 7, the proposed variation will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. Again, it's all multi-family, big condos or small multi-units. And 8, the proposed variation is in harmony with the spirit and intent of the zoning code. The zoning code our zoning allows for multiple family, residential, and compatible office properties, and that's what we're asking for in these relief, for these variations. Thank you.
I thank you. Does the board have any questions?
Yeah, cool.
Please.
I'm sorry if this was already addressed. Can you just explain, again, the other property? There's nothing in there right now. It has plumbing, it has rooms, it's
got a kitchen, it's got a bathroom, it's got a bedroom. I used it as my office for a while. It got broken into twice.
right. But it's fully functional as a home as is, correct?
Yes.
That's really
And I'm going to ask, so for who's ever renting, assuming we approve the variance and they're allowed to rent, they will not have access to parking on the property. Is that correct?
From what I heard tonight, yes. I'll say yes. You should know that there are 2 city parking lots within 200 feet of our property. One of them has overnight parking for $15 a month. And weekends and evenings, there's tons of parking, except for Ravinia nights in front.
And during the winter, when there's snow rules, you can still park in those lots? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think so.
I
mean,
just don't know
we
what
had a
happens
permit for
between
a
2
while.
and 6 a.m. Patrick, you look like you might have an answer.
I don't know. I would have to look that one up.
I'm assuming if it's city overnight lots, you can park there during.
It's a covered lot, I assume, right?
It's not covered. Well, there is the covered one over in that other building just a little further down, but this is just down the alley from us.
300 feet. 300 feet away, there's a covered lot.
Maybe 300 feet for the other one. Okay.
Okay.
Parking is available.
Does the board have any more questions for this witness? No. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And is there anyone here from the public who'd like to speak? Okay, well, thank you for coming out. Okay, with that in mind, I'm going to start a conversation among the board. Member Weisberg, you look like you're contemplating.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand how the members of this board could go either way on this. I'm kind of leaning towards thinking that the standards have been met. I think the hardship is really that you have this other property that you can't do anything with. And from the sounds of it, it's almost too built up to kind of be like a little pool house or anything, And, just as they mentioned, when you have something like that, it's kind of, and it's vacant, there's a lot of risk to squatters and, kind of people taking advantage of it. I do still find it a bit odd to have a unit in the suburbs with no direct parking. But I don't know if that, that would kind of be by, renter beware. So again, I think there's a lot of ways you could look at it, but, if we're forced to make a decision, at this point, I'd be leaning towards approving it.
Member Zorinsky.
I too think you guys meet the standards. I think, it makes a whole lot of sense. I think it would be, damaging to you as landowners to forbid you from renting a perfectly useful house on your property to a renter. I think this house has been sort of overgrown and sort of a mess in Highland Park for a long time. I think it's good for the city. I agree it is a little unusual to rent a house without parking, but there are options. You're also directly across from chain stations, so hopefully that, there's some synergy there for, finding a tenant. And I think it's I appreciate you going the correct route as opposed to just doing it and not telling anybody about it. And that's the alternative, and I think you deserve some credit for that. So I approve the variation. I would approve the variation as presented. And there was a comment about the condition. I guess it's more of a question for staff. Is staff like making a recommendation to add that condition, or?
It's just a condition to ponder. I feel like a lot of what is good about this project is the existing conditions. Buildings don't last forever. So if the approvals are being thought of as kind of more, it makes sense with the buildings, that was kind of the purpose and rationale behind the condition.
Cool. So that being said, I'd be more comfortable approving it with the condition so long as it wasn't an issue for the applicant.
You would need to come back up. Yes, please.
It can be used if they tore it down. They're going to have two houses.
So Patrick, if in this condition, if there was a fire,
fires are, you would be
rebuild.
allowed to rebuild. Yes, fires are it's referred to as act of God. If it's something that the owner didn't do themselves, they're allowed to repair and replace the property.
Sorry to go back to Member Weisberg. Would you be comfortable approving it with the condition, or would you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I actually might have a question. I'm sorry to deviate. It may be, it's probably not within, it may be a question for Patrick. And this is we don't then have a requirement for parking per unit. Our requirement is how many spaces per development?
No, it's so technically, okay, we'll get into the weeds.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So it's 2 spaces per unit, and then 1 guest parking space. So technically 5 is the requirement. However, since they are across the street from the train station, there is an added benefit of a parking reduction. So they actually only need 4 total on the site.
So it's 4 total, not 2 per unit.
Well, that's how it's calculated, is based off of number of units.
Right, but I'm just trying to figure out exactly what if we say 2, if we give the variance for 2 spaces, we're saying 2 per development, right? That's what our variance is. I'm not looking at exactly what it says. Because it's one thing for a calculation and it's another thing for an assign. I'm just saying, so the number of dwelling units are used to get the number.
Correct.
It's not that they have to travel with the units.
No, it's just, yes, you get the total number, and then how that site uses them is how that site uses them.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, I just needed a little clarification.
Yeah, all good.
Member Chase, will you think for a second? Member Brzezinski?
Yeah, I don't really have much else to add than what my fellow members said. I think it would be silly to have this piece of property where one building is completely vacant and not used. It doesn't make any sense. So I would be in favor.
And with the condition or without the condition?
As written is fine.
Okay, and that would include the condition. Member Chase, your thoughts?
I think this meets the standards, especially I think the property can't yield a reasonable return without allowing the rental. And as long and being as that there is the parking, there's the train parking nearby, there is parking nearby, and it doesn't seem like as long as we're in harmony with the zoning code, I'd be inclined to approve it with the condition, though. The space condition that we talked about, that wouldn't run with the land, that it would be for this only.
Just to butt in really quickly, it is already in the draft, so if you are to motion, you just say as drafted. You don't have to add the condition in.
Okay, thank you. Member Chase?
Yes,
Okay.
finished.
I agree with my colleagues, especially in terms of the reasonable return not being possible without approving the variation. I think that's really key this evening. I too would be in favor. So with that in mind, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, Member Zaransky, to approve the order as drafted.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
It's Member Trushansky to second. Thank you. Patrick, a roll call vote, please.
Member Weisberg?
Aye.
Member Chase?
Aye.
Member Trushansky?
Aye.
Member Zaransky?
Aye.
Vice Chair Yablon?
Aye.
Perfect.
Thank you.
The city should thank you, right?
Yeah, my husband.
Yeah.
Kidding. Just funny. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the next order of new business, which is VAR 2025-00050, and it's for the property located at 3435 Old Mill Road in Highland Park. The appellants are Ricardo Santana and, okay, I'm hoping I don't do this poorly, I'm sorry, Raha Rassam, maybe? Okay. Thank you, sorry. And they're requesting variations from provision section 150.711 and 150.703 to one, encroach into the required side yard requirement of 15 feet, and two, to encroach into the established building setback for a new garage addition. Patrick, if you please.
Yes. Okay, so 3435 Old Mill Road. Ricardo Santana and Raha Rassam are the applicants. Proposal is to encroach into the listed setbacks, the established building setback, side yard setback, and subdivision building line. This property is located in the R3 zoning district, and the existing home was built in 1955, according to the Lake County Assessor's Office. So the requested relief is to encroach into the established building setback of 114.5 feet by 74.5 feet for a garage addition. These are all for a garage addition. To encroach into the subdivision building line of 60 feet by 20 feet, and to encroach into the minimum side yard setback of 15 feet by 4.65 feet. Here is the property. It is located along this channel as well, so there is a bit of floodplain in the back of this property, something to note for the existing conditions. Here's an aerial. The property is also quite wooded, which the forestry department provided a memo on this project, and they do support this project, and I'll speak on that a little bit later. So, Old Mill Road is a private road. So the property line has a 33-foot easement for ingress and egress. That is the purpose of putting that road through it. The road is slightly to the west of their property, so it wasn't quite put in where the easement was supposed to be located, but it still persists with the land, and that's where, so this orange line is where the setback requirements are taken from, because that is area for the whole block to use as ingress and egress for their neighborhood. The red line is the 60-foot subdivision building line, which the existing house currently sits pretty much right up against. Again, that was set by the subdivision. It affects the entire block of Old Mill. Here's here's just some property photos. The garage addition will be happening on the front of the property. We're also doing additional work in the rear, but all of that work is conforming with the zoning code. So Blue is the existing house, and yellow are those kind of proposed additions. In the rear, these conform with the zoning code. All of the variations are for this new garage addition in the front of the house. There's a lot of numbers. So again, it's not from the property line that the setbacks for the front yard start. It's from the 33-foot easement. So the applicant provided the established building setback based off of the property lines. So they provided that the average was 147.5. I subtracted the 33 feet just to remove the ingress-egress portion. So for the request, it's 114.5 for the established building setback. Again, the established building setback is the average of the block. So you would just go along the block and average from a point on the property. Typically, it's the property line. In this case, it's the easement, but since the easement's not on GIS and easily obtainable, they use the property line. And to the closest point of the existing house, and you average it for the entire block. There's one house down here that is 534 feet away from the front property line, really increasing the average of the established building setback. It's pretty common in the R3. A lot of properties are pretty varied, and there is no maximum to the established building setback in the R3. You kind of get what you get. So the garage will also be encroaching into the side yard setback. They'll be about 10 feet away from the southern property line. They need to be 15 feet away. And again, the subdivision building line is 60 feet. They'll be approximately 40 feet away from that ingress egress, so they'll be encroaching 20 feet into that subdivision building line. Here are the proposed elevations. You'll notice that previously the garage was you drive down and then go into the garage. This proposal is to have the garage more kind of at level with the property. I'll have the applicant speak on kind of their rationale for that decision, but they are in floodplain, so I'm assuming water is probably an issue on this property. So that's kind of the design of where that placement of the new garage will be located. And then here's just elevations from the rear, but again, in the rear, they are conforming with the code. So forestry did supply a memo in support. There are quite a few key and heritage trees on this property, and this design is keeping away from those trees and trying to keep and maintain as many trees as possible. If, in the forester's opinion, if this was not to be approved, the garage would then probably be shifted to the rear yard and damage a lot of these key and protected trees. There was also 2 letters of support provided by the applicant with adjacent neighbors. And yeah. So again, it's threefold to encroach into the established building setback, the subdivision building line, and side yard setback to encroach with a new garage addition. Please use Chapter 150 standards approval, and let me know if you have any questions.
I will start with one, and that is for the established building setback, you said there was one large outlier. If you took that number out?
Yes, I did the math on that. Hold on. It would be about 91 feet. So a reduction from 114 to 91 would be the new established building setback for just the removal of that one house.
So then what would the ask be, or how does that change then? I need all the math done tonight, sorry.
Hold on, I got this. I can do this. Oops. So change from about 74 to 51 feet.
Does anyone else have any math questions or otherwise for the planner this evening? Okay, seeing none?
This property is there it is. Yeah. So it's these two that are really
Wow.
pushing the average back. The rest of them are fairly in line. And then, yeah, so it's these two properties are really increasing the average, but they would still be having a minimal request.
Of course.
Yeah.
But now you know who to blame. Thank you. Okay, so any other questions for Patrick, or we're good?
While we're, oh, well, never mind. I was going to ask while we were looking at that, which one is ours again?
This one,
This one. Okay.
it's not fantastic. Can I drag this away? I guess not. Okay, it's this one.
Okay.
So there are some houses that are closer.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. And sounds, yes, if you please approach the podium to be sworn in. And
Hello.
Hi, could you state your name?
My name is Ricardo Santana.
Excellent. And do you affirm that the testimony that you intend to provide this evening is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Excellent. Thank you. Please proceed.
All right. I'd like to start by thanking Patrick. Thank you so much. You've been very helpful. This is like news to us. You know, we don't do this all the time. So, thanks for hearing us as well. So we purchased this house. We moved in here about 3 years ago, 2022. And when we bought it, we had an underground garage. And we thought it was a little odd, but it worked for us. You know, it's a house for me and my wife and my son there, and the daughter that I have, a teenager. And so we moved in, everything's fine. We love the neighborhood, we love the area. She's previously from Highland Park. And everything fine and dandy. 6-7 months later, we got the first flood. It was, we had a big downpour, and we got water in the basement about 3 or 4 inches, then soaking up into the drywall about up a foot. So we figured, what happened? The pump's not working. Okay. So we fixed that up. About another year later, we had another flood. So we've been there for 3 years, and we had 2 floods in our basement. Our insurance company no longer wants to give us backup pump insurance. Every time that has happened, we put a claim in, but still they didn't cover the first time. So after thinking and trying to figure out what we would do, we decided that we cannot possibly have that underground garage doesn't work for us. It's as the way the layout, as you can see, the layout from the street level all the way to this area here, where there's like a bump, it's already pitching coming down. So we're getting all the water from the street. We get some water from the street, like the 100 feet of driveway that we have. We get some of the neighbors to the south of us, a little bit of the water from them as well. And all of that water, most of that water, when it rains a lot, comes into our underground there's an underground drainage system, but it's not enough for it. So that's what we got. And when it rains a lot, that's where we get a lot of water. So we're doing another in addition that you mentioned that we said we don't need a variance for that, but we decided that if we're going to do that, might as well then I'll address the bigger issue, which is the big issue with the garage in our basement. And so we met with the architect and we decided, and we figured out this is the best situation for us. If we were to go around to the back, like he mentioned, from the forestry, we had to get rid of some trees, and that will get damaged on the sideways, on our north side yard. We have to make a driveway to go to the back. That will be about 40 or 50 feet from the property because there's a big tree that you saw. They had a big, beautiful oak. We'll have to be beyond that, so it will make us put it too far away from our house. I really don't see any feasible other alternative, and that's what we decided to go through with this and ask for your, ask the council for some relief in this matter.
Thank you. Would you like to walk through the standards?
The standards? Sure. Well, the first thing I would say is the thing about the relief and how it financially hinders our situation. We bought a house with a 2-car garage that was in it, and we feel that we don't have that anymore. It's not feasible. Our house, we cannot get full insurance. I mean, we have insurance, but not for backup sewer and water, and that's a big part of where we live in because the way our house is set up. So I think that's our biggest issue financially for the house. We also have a 4-bedroom house, and we have 3 kids. I mean, we have 2 kids, but 1 drives, so we have 3 drivers in the house, 3 cars. So that's why we would like to get that 3rd car, which does not interfere with our coming in front. It's the same line, but it will be just it will go with the house rather than have a 2-car garage. So our plight is due to the presence of the underground garage. I mean, without it, we wouldn't have that issue. You know, that is the biggest problem that we have. We have neighbors that we consulted. In the few years that we've been there, we've gotten to know them, and they know our situation. They know that we have flooded. We talked to the immediate families next to us, and they approve it. They are okay with us going forward with this plan. And they signed a little letter, a statement, as you mentioned, saying it's okay. There's some of the guidelines is basically the same matter. The way I look at it, if I can answer something specifically, but the idea is that we bought a house like that. Regarding whether it adversely affects the neighborhood, I think it will. There are different homes in our neighborhood, in our block. There are some real nice big homes, and there's some smaller ones. Ours is kind of on the smaller end. I think if we get rid of that underground ramp going down there and we put a garage in front, I think actually it would make it look better than what it looks now. However, that's not the reason why we want to do it. We want to do it because we actually need it. We really dire necessity for a garage above ground. There are homes in our block, as you've seen from the list, that actually come up further than ours, and even further than ours after, if you guys grant me this variance request. There's a few of those, not many, but there's a few. There's also a couple that are the 500 feet one. There's some that is 100 and some feet. It's a little bit further than us, but I know that you asked the question earlier. If we were to take those 2 500 square foot homes, the way with my calculations, the setback will be like a 116, and we will, with ours, the way I measure it is about, we are 114. Now, that's 114 from I know there's a little bit of discrepancy here. 114 from the road, but it's the same ratio. We basically be on line with those if you take those two properties out of the equation. I'm here to answer any questions that you have.
I actually can start with a question, which is, what are the dimensions of this new garage? I know the old garage was 2-car, now this one's 3 cars.
Yeah.
And because your relief that you're seeking is also for the side yard, correct? And not just,
Well, because we are looking to have a 3-car garage rather than a 2-car garage, we will be encroaching slightly, I think it's like only 4 feet into the side yard, which is required to be 15 feet. So it would be like a 10 and a half or something like that, correct? 4.65 feet into the side yard. The reason for why we need a 3-car garage is because we do have a daughter that needs to park outside. So I'm the one who would park outside most likely, but I would like to be able to have access to that. We have a 4-bedroom house. It's just more in line with what it needs. Many homes in our block have 3-car garages,
and
the front. Excuse me. Sorry.
Oh no, we don't have the measurements. Is that correct?
Yeah, the plan sets doesn't have the dimension here.
Okay.
Oh, the width of the garage. Oh, it's 28 feet.
Okay.
Which would be enough for 3 cars. The proposed garage, the one we're proposing to build, it actually stops prior to where the ramp goes down. So the ramp, it's actually further out. The beginning of the ramp is further out than the actual garage would be if it was granted.
Got it. Thank you. Does anyone else have questions? No? Okay. Thank you. Please be seated. And
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you hearing us out.
Oh, thank you. Microphone's on, I apologize. And seeing no one from the public else who'd like to speak, or anyone else? Nope. I'm going to start all the way left this time. Member Chase.
Well, I think this meets the standards, especially the first and second standard. It sounds like if the garage is flooding, it's not usable. And by granting the variance for the front yard, that could alleviate the hardship. The hardship is one that they came to, and it is the particular physical surroundings are causing the problem, the fact that it's in a flood zone. It doesn't sound like it's anything that they did. They came to it. And it sounds to me like this is a pretty varied area in terms of what's built there. It doesn't sound like it would be detrimental to either the public welfare or the adjacent properties.
Member Trushansky.
I agree. There's very certainly a hardship here that wasn't created by the current owner, and the request for the side yard setback of only an additional 4.65 feet is not a big ask at all. And further, it has the approval of the neighbors on both sides, so I don't see why we shouldn't approve this.
Member Sharansky.
I agree. Clearly a hardship. In response to the side yard, I too think that, could this have a 2-car garage? probably yes. However, you are spending a lot of money, and to have a decent return on your investment, I think a 3-car garage is warranted. It's consistent with the neighborhood. There's a lot of 3-car garages, big houses, and I think it's a good plan, and hope it works to solve your problems.
Member Weiss?
I don't have much to add. I also will be for moving forward with the project.
I agree with my fellow board members, and I believe the standards have been met. And I once again appreciate that it's a smaller ask, that you didn't come in saying, and I'd like to have a 10-car garage because I'm building it. So I appreciate that, and I also appreciate that you went to your neighbors and that they were willing to sign something in support. With that in mind, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll move to, I forget what I'm moving to do, accept the order as written.
Sure. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Trushansky seconds. Patrick, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Okay. Member Weisberg?
Aye.
Member Chase?
Aye.
Member Trushansky?
Aye.
Member Zaransky?
Aye.
And Vice Chair Yablon?
Aye. Congratulations. Yeah. May you use your garage in good health. Patrick, any sort of staff report for this evening?
I do not have any.
Anything that's miscellaneous or?
So there's no meeting on July 4th, right?
No July 4th meeting.
Or is it July 3rd? I should say.
July 3rd.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it
July
July
3rd, but it's still, we are not having that meeting. So we will have a meeting on July 17th. Is that correct?
17.
You have business?
Yeah. Yes, we do. I think we'll have 3 items.
Any heritage trees?
No heritage trees.
Okay, with that in mind, where we are, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, meeting adjourned.